This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast. I am your host for today, Kim Walker. Brian is, to tell you the truth, I'm gonna be real. Brian is getting a massage right now, but we're just having a girls' chat, and he doesn't need to be in here, so he has no idea that I'm calling him out like that, but that is okay. And doing that just made me realize I recorded a podcast earlier today and I don't think I ever said my name, but y'all know who we are. So welcome back. Thanks for being here. I have two amazing women on the show today, and we are going to talk about mental fitness crisis happening in the shop, how to be mentally fit in the middle of obstacles and challenges and just nasty stuff. So we are going to come back to that. But first, let's just pause for a moment to thank our sponsors.
ShopBoss is software built by shop owners for shop owners. ShopBoss offers real solutions backed by real experience. Simply put, it's shop management software that works your way. When customers are in the lobby and cars are on the lift, you don't have time for a learning curve. That's where ShopBoss comes in, with profit-boosting features that work the way you need them to right out of the box. From built-in DVI to robust customizable reporting, ShopBoss makes everything about running a shop work more smoothly. Plus, with their Boss Pay Payments feature powered by 360 Payments, you can enter the era of totally paperless payments. From text to pay, remote payments, and consumer financing options, to compliance, surcharging, and now even offering PayPal and Venmo options. Everything is built right into ShopBoss. Plus, everything is backed by a fantastic support team with one goal in mind: your success. Be the boss with ShopBoss. Independent auto repair shops, get ready to transform your business with AppFueled. It's time for your professional auto service shop to have its own customer loyalty app. AppFueled will build an app that launches a custom loyalty program for your shop in 30 days or less, fully integrated with your point of sale system. Bring Fortune 500 level customer retention strategies to your business without the Fortune 500 budget. Many shops are enjoying the benefits. Our app engages your customers with a loyalty ladder, enticing them to climb the next rung, coming back more often and spending more each visit, all with your own app. Build loyalty with your customers to your brand and boost your shop's growth. Get your first app in 30 days or less, all without breaking the bank. Ready to start? Let AppFueled take your business to the next level. Go to appfueled.com or meet founder Jeremy Glasgow and book your complimentary app vision session at appfueled.com/Jeremy. That's appfueled.com/Jeremy.
All right, ladies. Here's the thing. You get ladies in a room together. We're in a virtual room and you just never know what's going to happen. But I am, super excited to have my two friends here, Rachel Spencer with Spencer's Auto Care and Leisa Ann, who is, we're going to call, she's with keepmeposted.com. How about that? So
Keep me posted today.com.
Keepmeposted.today.com. I've got to fix that in all kind of places. But let me give you a quick little synopsis of how these two ladies are coming together because they just met. And I'm going to start first in no order. But so this really came out of two different things happening almost at the same time. Rachel and I have been friends for a couple of years. I first heard about Rachel when she was on the cover of, was it Ratchet and Wrench?
Yes, I was on Ratchet and Wrench
magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian and I were driving across country in the RV, and I read the article, and not even knowing Rachel, I just found her on Facebook, sent her a message, and I'm like, hey, girlfriend, I love what you're doing. Your article was fantastic. And we've just become great friends since then, texting each other, staying in touch. And Brian and I went and taught a class there in Crum, Texas. And she just runs a super awesome shop with a really awesome story about just how it came to be. And so she and I were talking recently, and they've been through a road construction project. So for our listeners that are loyal, that is very close to my heart and Brian's, because we essentially were kind of put out of business because of a road construction project. So when I hear that, my eyes open, my heart pours open and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So let's talk about your road construction project. I will say Rachel is handle it far better than we did. So I told her I really want to get you on the podcast to talk about this. But at the same time, I met my sister Leisa Ann here, and that is a crazy story how that happened. If you're a loyal follower of our podcast, you know that I'm the most obnoxiously proud mom there is, although I'm sitting here with two moms who are also obnoxiously proud of their children. But Peyton is a cadet at West Point, and we have this phenomenal, it's not a group, but a resource of
Network.
a network, these academy moms, not just Army, but Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard. It's literally a spreadsheet of these families across the country who will host your academy child, like Peyton, my son. So he was driving back to West Point from spring break and used the resource and found a family outside of Chattanooga, messaged them, and he was like, hey, I'm driving back. Can I stop and crash at your house? So you open up your house and you host the family or the cadet. And he stayed there and they fed him dinner and then they fed him breakfast, got his belly full before he took off. So I get this email this random Thursday night from this crazy lady who says, hey, I thought it was spam. I almost didn't respond because it's like, hey, from one West Point mom to another, I found you through the network. So I'm like, okay, it's probably legit. And she starts explaining that she's walking like two legs across the country, that she's walking from California to South Carolina. And I'm like, there's no way that this is true. And that's when I thought it was spammy. I'm like, there's just no way. And then she she put in the email, she's like, I'm in Louisiana, I'm looking for a place to stay, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. So that's how we connected. But first, I'm like, okay, if she's a West Point mom, she's going to be in the West Point Moms Facebook group. Let me go check this lady out. And I'm like, before she comes and stays at my house. So I went and stalked her on Facebook and realized she's a rock superstar West Point mom in the Facebook group. Everybody knows her. I read her website, which is keepmeposted.today.com. And I'm like, okay, wow, this is for real. This lady.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk to her because her focus, she has nothing to do with the auto repair industry, but she was walking across the country in an effort to create conversations or bring awareness to mental fitness. And at the same time, I'm talking to Rachel and I'm like, this is the perfect time for us to be able to talk about entrepreneurship and facing difficulties and mental fitness and all that. So I've already queued this up and it took me forever. I really want to give you ladies a chance to jump in here. And so I want to just quickly share some stats that I pulled up that were not surprising, but sort of. Running a business, an auto repair shop, it's no joke. It is not for the weak, for sure. It requires being super intentional and taking care of yourself. And after I share these stats, it's going to just fuel the conversation. So there are studies that show between 72 and 87% of entrepreneurs report being affected by mental health conditions. 50% of entrepreneurs report struggles of anxiety, and 42% say, I'm burnt out. A very large percentage of entrepreneurs experience high levels of stress, so much that it has negatively impacted their mental health. And I said I was going to stop talking. I am, but I just want to cue this up with our own very quick, because you can go back and listen to episode number 2 where Brian and I dig in and share our story. So the short part of it is that back in 2008, we drove up to our shop one morning in October to orange barrels and cones all over the place. We were positioned on a US highway, a big highway, and our driveway was on the street perpendicular. So focusing on Mercedes-Benz, Audi, Porsche, BMW, we realized we're in a road construction project we knew nothing about. There was no warning in advance. And that lasted, without going through the whole long story, all the way through May. And they kept stopping and giving it a rest and restarting. We lost $15,000 a week in revenue. We had 11 employees. We led with our heart and not our brain when we should have used the numbers and downsized and let people go. And we did not do that. And so instead of paying our taxes, we paid our team members. And then fast forward to the day that the IRS came into our bank account and said, "Oh, this belongs to us. Let me take what you owe us." And that was the day before payroll. So everything just kind of fell apart. And that whole time, we were the leaders in our community. We were recognized. That was the best year we'd ever had. So we're on a high and then suddenly on a massive low of self-doubt. Are we meant to be business owners? Why can't we figure this out? Feeling helpless and hopeless. You're lacking sleep. You're not eating right. The financial strain, the pressure is outrageous. That impacts how you're leading your team. That impacts our marriage was, we were probably at each other, and just how all of that plays out, not to mention parenting a 3-year-old at the time. So I want to just cue that up to say that I understand the road construction and the crisis moment of owning a shop and just how devastating and terrifying it can be. So with that said, Rachel, tell the listeners about the road construction project that you guys just faced over there at your shop. Just kind of unpack the whole thing, how you felt, how it impacted everything from marketing and your numbers and just all of that. There's so much to it. So just kind of tell us about it.
We, yeah, so we haven't been as impacted as you and Brian were, but it's definitely impacted because it's a farm to market road right in front of our shop. So it's just a 2-lane road. So they've had one lane closed. The biggest impact that it really had on us is because the road was backed up. I went to go do a quality control on a vehicle and I was involved in a car accident. Which is something that hasn't happened at our shop. So all the staff heard it. I mean, it was loud enough that you could hear it inside the shop. And everybody just, took a deep breath, and I think they all kind of paused for a minute to make sure that I was okay. But the stress of that was just unbelievable. The impact that it had on our team and us, customers that were there that day. I think to be self-employed or entrepreneur, you have to be able to handle a certain level of stress that would probably destroy other people. So just going through that was really hard, and we're just kind of closing that up right now. Finally, I've got all the insurance dealt with and everything, but it's really been a trying time. That just seems like there was a lot going on at the time. We had a staff member that we had to terminate, unfortunately. We had another one that was a no-show, no call, didn't let us know, just kind of ghosted us. Then the car accident. So there was multiple things going on that really, if you've got to be built to handle this kind of stress and you've got to be ready for it. For me, it really taught me that I need to learn to practice to pause, that constantly I'm going
Mm.
90 miles an hour and then I'm wearing so many different hats as a shop owner, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, just to practice that pause and just to slow down just a little bit and just take time. If I had just waited 30 seconds, maybe that accident wouldn't have occurred. But again, you know, it could have been so much worse than what it was, but it played such an impactful part of our business and for me and the staff too, because they're practicing the pause as well and just slowing things down a little bit and just taking that time to evaluate what's going on and be in the moment right then.
Yeah. I can't help but think that in the slowdown, you probably find, like you said, it might not have been this way, or it could have been worse. I think when you do press the pause button and you slow down, you're able to find the gratitude even in a difficult situation. Would you say that? Like, what happens in the slowdown? What have you found? Because something brought you to say practice pausing So what's the benefit of that? What have you found to be yeah, the benefit of it?
Just to be proactive instead of reactive, instead of just trying, or let me rephrase that. Let me be um, to really think things through before taking an approach. Why
Mhm.
am I always in such a hurry to get these things done? If I slowed down a little bit, maybe this wouldn't happen this way. Just being able to focus more on taking that deep breath and taking that moment for myself, or practicing that with my team. Just practicing that pause with difficult conversations with your team members, or those hard conversations where you've got an angry customer. It just allows you to think that life can
Mm,
change in a matter of seconds. And really, for
mm,
that day, like I said, it could have been so much worse, but it wasn't. So that was just an eye opening experience for me, just to slow down and realize that life can change in just a minute. And I guess for me too, it brought on some PTSD. I lost my mom to a car accident when I was 21.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I've had a little PTSD, and that's affected me, and just going back to that moment, and created some fear for me too. With I have a 15-year-old that's going to be driving soon, so just talking to him and talking to my team members about life can just change in an instant, and just making me refocus on where we are and what our practices are daily.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. And I love that you shared how it brought up, the PTSD part, because I know that Lisa's going to have a lot to say about all of that, but I do want to also just mention, like you said, we're wearing so many hats and we're just running 90 miles an hour. Poor Lisa, the day that I picked her up, um I and then she lived with us for, several
4 days.
days. She
Yeah.
just saw like the constant back and forth running, going, phone calls, text
Yeah.
messages, and all this crazy stuff that I feel like I love that you talked about the pause, because I find myself not even breathing sometimes. Like, you're breathing, like you have to breathe, but it's such a quick, shallow, short breath that when I stop to take a deep breath, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've been breathing. And we have Slack that we use for internal communication. And there are these GIFs, that you can put in there. And I remember within the last week, I went in like at, 2 o'clock in the afternoon when people were rushing trying to get stuff done and whatever. And I remember going in there and dropping that little GIF in there where, I don't know if y'all have seen this on Instagram. There's an app. I don't have the app, but their advertisements hit me, and it's like a circle or like a
And it
mountain. And
breathes.
yes,
Yeah.
it's like breathe and then
hmm
exhale. And it just
Your
causes
watch
you
does
to
it too.
intentionally. That's right. I think I
Yeah.
turned that off. I probably need to turn that back
Turn it
on.
back on.
But I did there is an app called Pause. It's a faith-based app, but it's literally like a 1-minute pause where you just do that. So I love that you shared that. So Lisa, oh my gosh, I can't even think about just you sharing your story, your journey from the West Coast to the East Coast. The like you she had um oh my gosh, what'd you name her? Your
Gertrude.
Gertrude. Yeah. So she named
Yeah.
her cart. It's basically like a
Double jogging
baby,
stroller.
a
Yeah.
jogging stroller, and she had this thing packed down with like her tent, and she had hydration stuff, and she had all of her clothes, and she had a hammock and all this amazing stuff.
hmm
You think ahead and you plan and you think you're prepared, and then
Yeah.
you're walking and whatever happens, and now you're sleeping on the side of the road in your tent, or
Yeah.
y'all, she walked from California, she got to Louisiana and injured her ankle and was stuck here for 2 weeks or
Three.
so. So
Yeah. three
just the
weeks.
hurdles that you have to cross, and then the
Yeah.
frustration and things not going the way that they're supposed to go. So let
Yeah.
just same thing, kind of unpack your story, your journey of that, and how you handled. What are
hmm
some practical things that you did to overcome those frustrations and stress and
Yeah.
troubles?
So I came from an entrepreneurial background as well. I did real estate for 20 years, had my own team, and it was 7 days a week. not stopping. And it took me a really long time when I transitioned from working for myself to going to the post office so that I could train for my walk, not coming home and feeling guilty for sitting down. And I think that was my first aha, was giving myself some grace and giving myself some permission to sit down and be like, oh, okay, I don't have to do anything. And coming to when I met you and running around all day, you just don't stop. You don't stop. You're taking care of 15 million people and running around. And I saw how you just took care of everybody else. And I chuckled when Brian's having a massage. That's amazing for mental fitness, right? Take that time out, take that 2 hours, do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And I always use the analogy that you can't take care of everyone else around you if you're not around anymore. And I think that that walk taught me that the most, is that if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of everyone else? And who's going to take care of you? And have you taken a checklist of like, okay, these are the people I'm taking care of, but who's taking care of me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to ask that question. And other people in your life should be asking the same question. And I feel like as a family unit, we should all be checking in with each other and saying, hey, who's taking care of you? Who are you surrounding yourself with right now? Because that all plays a part in your mental fitness, what your stresses are, who's stressing you out externally. A lot of people don't just have work stress, they have personal stress, they have relationship stress, they have the stress of taking care of elderly parents. And I feel like if we don't take time out for ourselves, and as Rachel said, pause, it doesn't have to be a long time. It doesn't have to be a grand luxury. It doesn't have to be a weekly massage every two, it doesn't. It just has to be 5 minutes, or it needs to be more than 30 seconds. We can't do 30 seconds. We need 5 minutes just to reset. And science says that every 40 minutes we should get up and stretch and just take a quick break, because we don't have the attention span of more than really 40 minutes. We're already so busy doing everything else. Just try to focus on yourself for 5 minutes every 40 minutes. Just take that little break, to have that little reset every 40 minutes. And I always try to put 10 minutes extra into my 1 hour appointments. So every day I say I've got 40 minutes to do a task. The 20 minutes that are left are for admin, catching up, my 5 minutes break. And if I need to go over a little bit, then I can borrow some time. That's my bank. So when I look at my hours, my hour is 40 minutes, and then my bank is 20. So what are you putting in your bank? Your emotional bank, your physical bank, your spiritual bank. What are you putting in your bank? We always talk about banking and it's money. And we're also money driven and money focused, that we're not banking our health. We're not banking our mental health. We're not banking our physical health. Sitting down all day is terrible for you. Get up every 40 minutes, walk around while you're taking your 5 minutes, go do some yoga poses, stretch. The guys, have a healthy competition of push-ups. Do something that just energizes you and gets you out of that robot mode and into human mode again. Because we forget that we're human. I think we're so automated on so many things, we forget we're human.
And we're looking for more automation, right? I mean, it's like what else can we put on auto? And yeah. Rachel,
But
were you
we're
about to
we're
say
putting
something?
ourselves there, not we're not relying on it the way we should be. We're putting ourselves on automation, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
I think it's so
Turn off our
important to,
autopilot.
like you said, to make those deposits into the emotional bank account, and to surround yourself with people that are going to also be making those same deposits, like you said. I know Kim, her
Mm-hmm.
love language is giving gifts, and so is mine. So that's one way that I know that I can pour into Kim, is that I know if she's having a bad day or something, I can just send her something Amazon, or I know she sends people stuff all the time. She sent me a lot of great
Mm-hmm.
gifts. But just surrounding yourself with those kind of people that will make those daily deposits into your emotional bank account, and surrounding yourself when you're doubting yourself. When in doubt, seek out. Surround yourself by those people that are going to encourage you and uplift you. We rise by lifting others. So make sure that we surround ourselves with those
Yeah.
people that are going to bring us up and not bring us down.
Yeah. And remembering that when you're pouring into somebody else's cup, it's going to overflow.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually yours will too. And when you pour into others, they pour into you.
Yeah. So when Brian and I went through that whole road construction project, being young in business, I mean, we were, gosh, 20, I want to say late 20s. Brian was probably 26, honestly. And yeah, he was 26. We're about that age. And so we were young, we didn't know what we didn't know. And I remember going through all of that, and we were in a coaching group at the time. So we were connected, but I don't know that we really did what you just said, Rachel, which was seek out. I don't know that we really truly shared our struggle, or if pride got in the way, or if we were ashamed or scared to share and be truly vulnerable. But in hindsight, I have in my notes here, like, shop owners, don't face your struggles alone. Like, I know for us, and I know for Rachel too, so I'm going to have you share specifically the connections you have that you lean on in these times of difficulty. But there are community groups. If you're involved in your chamber, there are probably people in the chamber you're close to, or the Rotary group, or your BNI group, or if you're in a church, there's your small groups, or people that you become friends with. So think about who in your local community you have to lean on, but also in this industry. There's so many great connections in this industry from different groups on Facebook, social media you can be friends with. And I see all the time where shop owners are posting and sharing about whatever struggle or problem they have going on. And someone will say, hey friend, DM me, send me a private message. Let's take this offline. Let's have a conversation. And then just the conferences, the trade shows, the events that you can go to. So Rachel, what would you add to when you said, when in doubt, seek out? Who can they seek out to? Who can they go to?
I mean, you want to go to your friends, your family, as you said, other shop owners, other people that you know that are entrepreneurs, people that have faced the same challenges that you have. Um, for me and you know, other women, we were talking about some health issues the other day. Just finding people that you have things in common with, whether you're going through
Mhm.
parenting struggles and it's another mom, or you're a shop owner and you've got groups. Whether it's Facebook or you've met these people at conferences, we didn't know, kind of like y'all. And I believe we joined a coaching company in 2018. And like you said, you don't know what you don't know. At that time, we were ready to sell our business. We were tired. We were burned out. We felt like we were hostages to our own business. We ended up joining a coaching company and found that there were a lot of people that were just like us, that were struggling just like
Mhm.
us. And at that point, we decided, hey, we've got a chance here. We've got people that are supporting us that will help us through these challenges that we're facing right now. And that in itself was a challenge growing the business. That was hard and stressful. We grew 156% in gross sales in 1 year. So just having those shop owners who had been through the growth that we had been through, who'd been through the struggles that we've been through, that was so important for us. And just having people around. My husband is my number one supporter, just like Brian's yours. Without him for me to lean
Mhm.
on and come home and vent throughout the day and get through things, he makes those emotional deposits into my checking account every day, and he's my biggest cheerleader.
Mhm.
And you've got to have somebody in your corner that supports you like that.
Yeah, totally agree. And you talked about kind of just feeling out there like you were all alone. I remember that feeling of like we're nobody else is going through this. We're on an island. Like, who do we talk to? How do I share this journey with someone else? And it wasn't until we got involved and engaged in the industry, a coaching group, that sort of thing, that we started finding solutions and also not feeling like we're in this by ourselves. So I love that you shared that. And it's one of those messages that unfortunately, I keep thinking like the whole female friendly. I'm like, are we still talking about that? Like, are there still shops who are not female friendly? And why do we keep talking about marketing to women? Like, it blows my mind. We were doing that 20 years ago. Why is that still a conversation? This is something that I think we can never say too much. And that is that you are not alone. You are not by yourself. There are people that you can reach out to who want to help you. And there are shop owners who have been through what you've been through that want to tell you their story. They want to help you. So let's just continue talking about what to do. And we lost Lisa, and this is probably like her expertise, although you and I have plenty to add to this from our own experiences as well. But in addition to the connection to people, there are things that, oh, she's back. Okay. All right. Well, maybe our software captured you. That's great. Well, then you know where we are. We're talking now about um a- the tips and strategies in addition to connecting with people, right? But for me, and I'm only speaking from my personal experience, I've struggled with weight my entire life. Regardless of the weight struggle, physical movement, there's so much to be said for taking care of our bodies. I know, Rachel, you are an avid runner. You love running and hiking. Is it running or hiking? Is both. And then Lisa,
It's just walking.
obviously you've walked across the
I'm too
country.
old for that now.
Yeah, but you do it, and it's let's just talk about the mental fitness aspect of taking care of your body. And it's easy to just come home from work, I'm exhausted, I'm laying in the chair, I'm watching TV, I'm binge eating whatever I'm eating, go to sleep, waking up, getting right in the shower, getting right to work, and never taking the time to move your body. Y'all just talk a little bit about that. Lisa, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah. So when you're in the middle of the mess, I think is when you need to step away and be like, oof, okay, I need to get away from that mess. So what do you do to get away from that mess? I personally, I'm a bath girl. I like my bath. I like my hammock. I go and sit in my hammock. I read, I write, I journal, and I find something that makes you happy. What's your happy space? Maybe it's like 15 minutes just sitting on a swing. I was in Georgia and they had this most amazing swing on a tree that their kids had grown up with. Another West Point mom. I sat out in the swing for 10 minutes a day and I just swung like a 5-year old. It was amazing. But just do something that snaps you out of the negative and brings you back to a positive point, because music does that as well. Music's amazing for just changing a mood. I know people that, depending on what kind of mood they are, is what kind of movie they're watching. So I know what kind of mood you're in. If you're watching a horror, I know you're in a bad mood. If you're watching comedy, I know you're in a good mood. It is a switch. It really is a switch, being able to say, I'm not going to stay here. I'm not going to stay in this mood and
Mm-hmm.
this place. I'm going to move forward. We do feel like we're
Mm-hmm.
alone when you're in chaos, because there's so much mess around. You can't see everybody else around you saying, hey, we're here to
Yeah.
help. Let us help you. And that's ego. Take away your ego. There's no room for ego in a business. Ego will destroy a business. And I think just taking ego out of it and finding your center, finding your peace. Everybody is different. There's no wrong way to find your peace. Some people smoke, some people have a glass of wine, some people get a massage, some people work out. There's no right or wrong way. Just find something, and you need to give yourself. You have 24 hours in one day. If you can't give yourself 1 hour personal time per day, you're not living life right. You need 1 hour just for you, guilt free, to do whatever you want to do. And you own that. That's yours. You don't have
Well,
to
I
ask
think
permission for
that,
that. And if there's not enough hours in the day, then find something that can be
mhm,
sacrificed for that
yeah.
1 hour.
Well, it's like Rachel said we're running 900 miles an hour, and when you're in that rut of go 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 go, it's very hard to think about stopping and slowing down. I know, Rachel, coming back to you, you go for walks, and you um were posting about that all the time. It what was is that your my peace moment? Is that your that's my time kind of in the day? How do those walks impact your mental state when you're in those stressed out times?
So I originally started walking and I did some Pilates and yoga because I had quit smoking 2 years ago. So I knew that I had to replace the smoking with something else. And I wanted to do something that was going to be better for me and also give me that me time that I needed. So that I'm still doing that today. 2 years smoke free right now. And so I just take that walk at least 30 minutes a day. And that just I really have to tell myself too, like, I need to focus on me, and I don't need to be on social media. I don't need to be scrolling through Facebook
Mhm.
reels and stuff like that. And just, again, practice that pause and taking a moment for me and not thinking about stuff that's going on at work or anything that's going on in my life. And just take a deep breath and just walk through it and focus on the blessings that I have in my life. That there are so many things to be
Mhm.
grateful for. And as Lisa said, negativity is a choice that we make every day, and just trying to focus then and trying to um, focus on what's good in my life. That has really offered me some clarity. Doing those walks or doing the yoga or Pilates of taking that moment for myself, because that like. Brian doing the massage today, I found myself going for massages, but found that I'm so tense. And I have to tell myself, like, you need to relax. And even if I go get my nails done, the ladies are always telling me, relax, relax. So I am constantly tense and I really have to practice that of being intentional, of trying to relax and just be in the moment, especially with our
Mhm.
kids because they grow up so quick that we've got to live for that moment because we don't have a whole lot of time with them before they're
Right.
adults and they're moving out.
Right. Well, like the thing about like Brian and his massages, he gets them pretty regularly. That it because he doesn't stop. He does not stop. And that is a scheduled appointment that forces him to get out of the desk, get out of the house, the shop, the and go away and relax for a little bit. For me, I have to do it before the world gets to me by choice. I mean, I let them do that, right? But I'm an early riser. And so I think you have to find what works for you. For me, I get that sense of peace, that calm, the pause intentionally first thing in the morning. So I get up super early, generally 4:35. Sometimes I've stretched it to 5:30. I have my Lisa knows this spot. I have this very special chair in my sunroom that I go in there. I've got my dog, my cozy blanket, my Premier Protein, which is my coffee, my Bible. I sit there, and that's where I start generally almost every single day. And when we're traveling, um, I intentionally look for so like whatever hotel we're in or whatever, I look for this little spot. And I tell you, we went to Vegas this weekend for the Kenny Chesney concert at the Sphere for his last show at the Sphere, where he announced that he's coming back next year. So we thought, oh, once in a lifetime, Kenny Chesney at the Sphere, and we're going to his last show. No, he'll be back next year. But that's correct. And so Vegas, where it is really crazy, it's very busy, and I'm in this gorgeous hotel with a casino and trying to find a cozy, quiet little spot for my quiet time that I knew was coming up the next morning. I wanted to get out of the hotel room and go was so hard. I ended up finding some little corner in their spa area. And so it's just like, what's your routine? What is your daily practice of that pause, that slow down? And then I think it was Ed Milet said in one of his podcasts recently, one of you talked about getting out of the negativity, do something to snap yourself. I think it was you, Lisa. And Ed Milet has like a snap or a clap where when he realizes he needs a state change, he like literally does a physical movement to snap himself to trigger, okay, switch your mindset, stop thinking about what you're thinking about. So, um,
Yeah. I have a friend who has a rubber band on
yes.
her wrist, and she'll slip her finger under it and flick herself with it every time she's,
Mhm.
going in a different direction or she loses focus on something. She uses it for multiple purposes, but I find that's a good thing. But music for me is probably the number one. And when I walk, I try not to, unless I've got a scheduled call for something,
Mhm.
I just have music or a podcast or an audio book. I try not to have conversations with people because then I just find I go back into a complaining mode or they're complaining. And you've also got to be really careful of how much negative energy you're absorbing around you. And are you
Mm.
taking that home with you? Somebody's just told you they've had a tough day. You still talking about that when you get home to the people at home, and then are you putting that on them, and then are they putting that on somebody else? It is a trigger effect, and you do need to be really conscious about what you're putting out, what energy you're putting out there, because it does
Mhm.
come back to you. And I think when we're really talking negatively about other people or about situations or something's going on, that
Mhm.
makes your day sad too, because you're not in a good place. You're not spreading positivity. Instead of saying, "Oh, such and such did so and so, an injustice or something happened there," you're like, "Oh, I heard that happened, and I'm really hoping that they learn a good lesson from it and move
Yeah.
on." Don't engage in the gossip and the be productive, be helpful, and to be in a positive mindset, but walk away. You don't have to carry
Yeah.
everybody else's
Well, I
baggage
think
with
it's
you.
interesting. All three of us have shared, this is what works for me. This is what works for me. And that's the same. We're three women, but the majority of our industry are men, and men particularly, aren't, those natural born nurturers, let alone nurturers for themselves. And culture has told us this is how it should be, or this is how it should be. So I really hope that the guys that are listening are taking away, well, I can do that, or I definitely am okay doing that. And specifically the reaching out is, if you don't have, I'm talking to you guys, if you don't have some really good friends, like real friends that you can lean on, that is probably the top priority. I remember in the in the middle, at the peak of and our shop was Peak Automotive, so that's kind of funny. At the peak of our trauma crisis of the shop and the road construction project, I remember realizing Brian had friends, but he didn't have like those like brothers, like just really super close friends. And at some point he realized it, and he's talked about this on the podcast before. And it was after we moved back home here to Louisiana that he realized, I really need to create some intentional, very close friendships. And he has that now. And it's super important to him. His boys, BOYZ, is their Facebook chat and their text group chat where they're constantly all day long texting and chatting. And when you're close to someone like that, you know when they're off, you know when they're not right, you know when you need to take it to a private, or you show up. Like his best friends, Joe, Mike, I promise you, if their communication turned in some way, they're going to be here at our house. Like I could just cry thinking about those relationships. Our guys need that. Women, we bond, we come together. It doesn't take long for us to build that connection. Some women it's harder for, but in general, I think most women, we're that nurturing, um, motherly sort of type. Guys have to be super intentional, and so that they can get to that point where they're being raw and real. So,
Right. When guys build up their emotions differently than women do too, they need to like work it out in the gym, fishing, doing something. Men tend
mhm,
to need physical activity to be able to blow off their steam, and then they can relax. Women tend to fuss about everything emotionally, and then they
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I
collapse.
read
Well, like,
"Women Are from Mars, Men Are from Venus." That book. So where it talks about the men are the fixers, where we can fix our problems just by talking to one another. We can work it out, and then we feel better
mhm,
once we've got it off our chest. But when there's a problem at hand with the men, they want to fix that problem for us. So that is their natural tendency to try and shut off from the world and go into their caves and try and fix that problem for us. Where for us, it's just like, let's talk this out. I mean, you and I talked a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, okay, now I feel better. So sometimes,
yeah,
just talking with a friend, that's your relief that you need, or
mhm,
maybe it's just going shopping. But
mhm,
you've got to find your thing,
yep,
and you've got to find your why, and you've got to focus on that.
I think men are getting better at it though. The more that we need to learn to be a safe space for our people, men and female. Like, are you somebody's safe space, and who's your safe space? And take stock of
yep,
that, because we don't. We sort of tend to go through life, and like as you said, Brian's like, "Hi, I don't have really close friends around me." Well, when did that happen? When did he stop
mhm,
wanting to hang out with people and doing fun things? And the realization was like, oh, I need that back in my life. I don't think we
mhm,
check in with ourselves enough to say, oh, I need
yeah.
to I need to take stock of that. You know.
Well, I know he would answer that by telling you that we got married and so it was all about us. And then we had Peyton and it became all about him. And then we got busy with the business. And so I think life just gets in the way. And like you're saying, if we don't stop and take an audit of ourselves and realize, whoa, I've lost my own self, my own personal connections. I know, Rachel, your husband loves golf, right?
Yes,
I
yes,
know your
and my
son does.
yes, both of them love it. They just got back actually. So that's
Yeah.
that's their escape, and it's something that they can bond on together too. So
Hmm.
that's their escape, and my husband also fishes, and my son does as well. So that's something that they can bond together, but is also their
Yeah.
escape, from daily problems, or my son going to
Hmm.
school and the stresses that come along with that. But I think too, so
Yeah.
much of the world we live in today, social media, that plays a big impact on our mental health. I know that I had to take a break from Facebook for a while once we saw the shop growing, because all I saw was shop owners saying, "Oh my gosh, I just did this and I did this," and you're looking at their numbers and stuff, and it's making you feel like, man, why am I not doing that? Why am I not there yet? So sometimes just
Hmm.
realizing that social media can have a negative impact on you, and that sometimes people are only posting the good stuff. I mean, a lot of times you're not going to go on
Hmm.
Facebook and say, hey, I'm having this struggle today. My shop, we're down 25% in sales. I don't think a lot of shop owners go out there and say that. We're it's a highlight reel.
Hmm.
So I think sometimes we need
That's
to take a
exactly
step
right.
back from social media too, and just realize that it's just a highlight reel, and that sometimes you've got to reach out to your personal circle and have a conversation with them of that might be shop owners, and find out what's going on in the business and what's going on in our industry and what's going on with our economy, because sometimes social media is not a true picture of what's really happening
Hmm.
in the world.
And
Amen.
don't
That is
measure
so right.
yourself next to your neighbor.
Hmm.
Don't compare yourself to your neighbor. They're not living your life. And give yourself some grace, that live your life. Don't live other people's lives. Don't try to
Yeah.
measure up, because you don't know what they had. They might have had a $500,000 injection from somebody that you never got the opportunity to have, but you're still there with them side by side, even without that. But you don't
Mhm.
think about that, because you're thinking, coming from an entrepreneurial type mentality, you don't think about that, because you're just thinking about, well, hang on, they got $500,000 and I just struggled the whole time. But you're like, well, hang on, let's count the win in that. I did it without the 500,000
Mhm.
injection. I did
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Give yourself the wins, and chunk it down. They don't have to be big wins. They just, every time
Mhm.
you give yourself a compliment of, I did it, I'm doing okay, I did well, that's a positive mindset. That's keeping yourself in the blue, not in the red.
Absolutely. Well, I will say the big example that we use today of stress or crisis or whatever had to do with construction. But everything we've just talked about really was just about maintaining your mental fitness, which I love that's the new term I'm adopting that Leisa put out there. She wasn't really talking about mental health, which is the whole, but it's really you being fit. And you can't be fit if you're not intentionally doing the things that we've just talked about. And there's more that we didn't talk about. So whether it is you walked in today and your service advisor quit, or one of your technicians was test driving a car and had a car accident in your customer's vehicle, or it's a road construction project, or something happened and now you don't have the money for payroll, or your technician quit, or whatever. Like there's just endless numbers of examples of big, huge, hairy, awful things that we go through as business owners, but specifically talking to our audience of auto repair shop
Well, you
owners.
do
So
yourself an
I hope that
injustice
y'all,
if you don't tell other people the pitfalls that can happen in that industry. You're letting other people fall through too, and then you're going to have less support if everyone's just failing around you and you're failing too. But if you all step up and say, hey, this is tough, I'm noticing this, or how did you handle that road construction scenario, or how did you handle that person quitting on you, or do you check in with your team to make sure that they're happy as well? Because if they're not happy and you don't know about it, then you could have avoided that person quitting.
yeah. Well, I'm going to throw out there that not only are there all of the great coaching groups that are available and present, but if you're not physically in something like that, rely on, we laugh and joke. There's so many Facebook groups for auto repair shop owners, and some of them are just wild and crazy. Some of them are super serious. No matter what, there's a place for you. So go find your place. And so I really appreciate you ladies joining me today. I want to give you one last chance to just tell people where they can find you to connect with you. If they're listening and they have questions, or they just want to send you a message to say, hey, I really like that you said this, or that really resonated with me. So Rachel, how can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you?
So you can email me at spencersautocrum@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Rachel Spencer, or Spencer's Auto Repair Crum.
Awesome. Leisa.
Keepmeposted.today.com.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
thank you for having me.
All right, ladies. Yeah, I really appreciate your time. I know we went back and forth on some scheduling, but we made it happen. And I hope that all of our listeners have something to take away. Before I wrap it up, I want to take a moment to ask you to leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, follow us. We love to see, just like you shop owners are looking for reviews for your shop, we would love a review of our podcast. And as you probably, hopefully, have heard about, we have Plan with the Pros coming up this October. It is our second time doing it. There are still, I think, about 10 spots left. So you want to visit planwiththepros.com. This is going to be a 2.5-day hands-on workshop. At the end of October, we are hosting it. This is your last chance to get a personal tour of West Point from Brian and I. It is our son. Our son is a firstie, which is a senior. So it's his last year at West Point. And so we are holding this event at the Thayer Hotel, which is stunningly gorgeous over the Hudson River in New York. So for 2.5 days, we are going to teach you how to create your full 2026 marketing plan. And then you're going to do it. You're going to create it with our coaching and mentoring. So you're going to leave this event with your full 2026 marketing plan intact and knowing how to do it for yourself moving forward. So if you want to grab that spot, head over to planwiththepros.com and get registered. So thanks again for listening to the Auto Repair Marketing Podcast on the Aftermarket Radio Network. There are many other great shows on the network. You can find them all at aftermarketradionetwork.com or on your favorite podcast listening apps like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Tune in next week for another episode. And until then, go fill those bays.